Welcome back to Film Buff Bros, and in this episode, we're going to talk about our, I always do that, we're going to rank our favorite Martin Scorsese's movies of the 80s.
Yes, we are.
All right, so for me, so this is from least favorite to most favorite. Normally I can, no, not normally, I was going to say sometimes I can say I like them all. When we did Kubrick, I like them all. De Palma, maybe. Anyway, point being, I'm not a huge fan of The Last Temptation of Christ. I like Willem Dafoe. He, Born on the 4th of July, Platoon, and that Lighthouse movie. I think he's a great actor, and I think he was really the only good performance in Nosferatu. But I didn't really like him. I did not really like him in The Last Temptation of Christ. He's like too angry of a Jesus. I don't know, it just doesn't, that movie doesn't like scream Scorsese. Like the cinematography is not as great as some of his other movies. And I think part of that reason is because Michael Bauhaus and one of that other guy, the other cinematographer he worked with, did not do the cinematography for it. So that's my number 5 of his 5 80s movies. After Hours is number 4. It's kind of fun. It's good for watching one time for my taste. Cheech and Chong are in it, and it has a very, it's like an entourage kind of cast, fast paced. It's like filmed in real time. Essentially, all takes place in one night. It's kind of fun. Again, it doesn't scream Scorsese to me. Anyway, number 3 is Raging Bull. I think Joe Pesci's first performance, a lamentful film in the black and white kind of yields that dark tone to it. Jake LaMotta, kind of a pedophile, I guess, alcoholic, punch drunk, and just not the greatest person. And I have a hard time like really enjoying a film if I don't like the protagonist, other than Patrick Bateman. Not that I'd like to spend time with him, I just find him kind of funny. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a great movie, phenomenal movie, and a lot of these movies I could kind of switch out back in, between 2 and 3, and 1 and 2. But I don't think that's the best movie of the 80s. It's a great movie, and I kind of almost feel like it is his best movie of the 80s. But number 1 and 2, I could really switch out. And number 2 is Color of Money. Michael Bauhaus, the cinematographer, like phenomenal cinematography, like the pans, the zooms, and the color grading. It's amazing. I'm a huge fan of Tom Cruise. Say what you want about him and Scientology and his personal life or whatever, but I think he's like one of the best actors of our time. Paul Newman, great. I can't remember the female's name, but she's pretty good in it too. But it's really the cinematography that sells me on it. Like the story is not that compelling. The stakes are clearly not very high. It's just, like a winning pool tournaments. And then number 1, I'm going to have to go with King of Comedy because I think Jerry Lee Lewis. Is it Jerry Lewis or Jerry Lee Lewis?
Jerry Lewis.
I think it's Jerry Lewis.
Lee
Lewis,
was
the pianist, right? Yeah, so he's just so funny in it. I don't know if it's Martin Scorsese's mother, or I think it's someone, maybe it is his mother, but like she's trying to get Jerry Lewis to talk to her sister who's on the phone. She's like, oh, like Jerry Lewis, and say hi to my aunt or sister on the phone. And he's like, no, sorry, I'm busy. And she's like, cancer, I hope you get cancer. And then that woman who's in Roseanne, with the big lips and the gap between her teeth.
Bernard, yeah, she's great.
Oh, she's so good in it. She's like, oh, I want to listen to the Shirelles. I just want to be black. Just like, and then Rupert Pupkin, Robert De Niro, phenomenal in it. Not a huge fan of him outside of the acting arena, especially these days. But man, he's so good in it, like when he's rehearsing how he's going to be on the talk show, and his mom's like, who are you talking to? And he's like, Mom, shut up. He's living in his mom's basement, having these fantasies of being a celebrity. And I thought that kind of was harkened back to in that Joker movie, where he, like, that Joker character can't remember, Albert Fink or Finch or something. He was wanting to, be a celebrity so bad and wanting to be on Robert De Niro's talk show. So anyway, yeah. King of Comedy number 1, Last Temptation of Christ is my least favorite.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say like what represents Scorsese's style and stuff, like the parallels throughout the films. And as I was kind of rewatching some of the ones I hadn't seen for a while, I realized like he is sort of a chameleon. He's tried a lot of different stuff, especially the 60s, 70s we're gonna do. Like they're all very different films, and he does challenge himself to do these Age of Innocence and these totally out of his element sort of films. So I don't know, man. I don't know if he's got a style. Like like I was saying with Leone, is like it's like cinematography and music. Like those things are, and I think that goes with Scorsese's too. Cinematography, music, camera movement, music,
pop music.
Yeah. So yeah, I got a much different list than you, but that's cool because I don't really. The thing about Color of Money, that's my 5th. Is that the way they shoot pool in that movie, the cutting is like, yes, you have to have good cinematography to be able to do these good cuts, but the editing for that film was fantastic. And Paul Newman, I like Paul Newman. It took me a long time to like him, but I really like Paul Newman. Tom Cruise, usually solid. This is one he's definitely solid in. Yeah, so, but again, it's just, I like these other ones better. So I'm going with number 4, After Hours. I think you bought that or something, and like we started buying all his like obscure films we hadn't seen, and yeah, just love It's All in One Night, and it's just like following this guy who's just like trying to get home, and he's just going through all this crap. I just think that the plot is really well, and I did like his camera work, and I felt like there was a lot of really cool zooms and stuff there to bring the intensity. And I like it's like all at night and stuff like that too, because I like stuff that's all at night. So number 3, King of Comedy. Again, I think another one, or I think maybe Steve or you introduced me to that one, and it's just ridiculous. We saw Hi Mom and Wedding Party and all these ones where he's doing comedy. That De Niro's comedy is almost better than his dramatic stuff to me sometimes. And in King of Comedy, the character is such a pathetic but likable guy, and like you said, the supporting performances by Bernhardt, she's just nuts in it. She's fantastic. And what else about that film do I like? I don't know. I just love the 80s era of films, and for him to create that film, 83, just the early 80s had so many great films. That was like a perfect 80s. And the editing, it's not a boring film. Number 2, I really like Last Temptation of Christ. Maybe not a lot of people agree with me, but that was a film that I watched and immediately like fucking kind of like felt an affinity for, an understanding for. And I like that it's based off this novel. It's saying that if he came off the cross and just lived his life, and so that's an interesting way to take it. I didn't expect that to happen at the end of the movie, for them to say, well, he's just lived a normal life like a normal person. I think the music's incredible. It was a passion project of his. Took a long time for him to get the funding and approval for. And Defoe, Keitel, it's just to me, it's like one of the better tellings of the religious story of Christianity and Jesus Christ. Number 1, Raging Bull. I mean, just the first time I watched it, like, I think I'd like locked myself in my room. I was in like depression, and like I just started doing push-ups to that opening scene, like that music, that slow motion, that smoky black and white ring. The character, he's just all over the place, a wild animal where he's punching the wall in prison and shit, and just a crazy performance. Again, don't like De Niro as a person, but that doesn't matter. His performance in this is a must-see. And it's just shot so well, cut so well. There's very little flaws in Raging Bull. So yeah, his body of work in the 80s was ridiculous, man.
Yeah, I think Raging Bull is one, as far as rewatchability. If I were to rank them in rewatchability, I'd probably say Raging Bull number 1, King of Comedy number 2, and then Color of Money, After Hours. Maybe After Hours would be my number 5. So yeah, it's funny because rewatchability is one of my main criteria. But
There's a lot of stuff in his films, so I feel like a lot of his stuff is rewatchable. You know, he's like a Kubrick, where there's just a lot of stuff you don't notice with your conscious at first. You have to go back and maybe subconsciously you didn't notice it, right?
and you're right. What you said earlier is like he doesn't really. He's tried a lot of stuff. I think there is like he had a style in the late 80s and early 90s. You know, when he was using the same two Bauhaus, and there's another guy, I can't remember his name.
Michael Chapman.
Okay, yeah. So those two guys, they seem to kind of define his style for a while, and that's when he should have won an Oscar, but he ended up winning it for The Departed.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's definitely tried a lot of stuff. But I mean, like him and De Palma, you know, like and Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone maybe less of a style. Oliver Stone a lot of cutting, but I think that the pans, the long duration shots. And the use of pop music is something that kind of defines Scorsese.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that camera just died. So that's okay. It's perfect.
All right. Anyway, that's our episode for this week. Tune in next week for another episode and click down below to like and subscribe.
Thanks for watching, guys.